Hi guys, my name is Meriko and my friend is Guppy. We are talking about creation of character and world building. We are two students of Visual Arts School and our project consists to explain the process and final product for a history, designs of comic or audiovisual content. Since the idea of make a character with some archetypes of designs and personalities to a whole world building that character will interact inside. Some topics we talk about are creative process and reference, concept art, lore, designs and boundaries of the characters slash world, delete, recycle and organize, and final product.
Creative process and references. First off, what do you want your story to be about? Have you think what kind of story do you want? Is it a comedy, a drama, a thriller, a fantasy, or a horror story? The principal thing you have to be sure is what kind of genre are you the most comfortable to work with. So, if you are more comfortable with doing a fantasy story, it will be much easier for you to work with that than a slave of life story. Your story can have various genres. Are you inspired in something specific? This is not a need, but usually it's better to have a reference. Is your fantasy story based on a known Japanese legend? Or is your thriller based on a true policial case? Maybe not. It doesn't have to. You can go with a complete original idea, but don't be afraid of taking inspiration. Inspiration could come in any way. That means through music, dreams, personal experience, and much, much more. The moral of the fable. Your story might not be a fable, but sure, it needs to communicate a solid message. It can be anything. But if the story doesn't teach something in the end, realistically, it will be a boring story. I'm sorry, I don't make the rules. Start with the general and continue with the specifics. When you create a story, you must be sure what the main plot of the story is. It's helpful to have a small synopsis, which is a small resume about the plot. Just 2 or 3 lines is enough. Before that, it is a need to have a starting point, a middle point, and the end. Have fun filling the space between them. Things you should keep in mind. You have to think what kind of public is going to see your story in an hypothetical case of it being published. If it's a story for kids, please keep it family friendly.
Concept art. The concept art is the part of creating the story where you design everything. It's not obligatory to be a visual design if you are making your story written. But since we are talking about visual novels and comics, yes, you have to draw, or pay an artist to draw for you. Lol, that is going to cost a lot of money. If your story is about dragons, you'll need a clear imaginary visualization of how those dragons look. This might and will take a lot of try and errors to end up with a nice design that fits with the story. So yeah, put your pants and prepare yourself to cry a lot because oh boy, you are not aware of what are you getting into until you are already deep in there.
Lore. You have done everything we have said, so it's time to get into the lore. Remember when I said you have the starting point, the middle point, and the end? Well, you have to go deep into that. Simple. But it's important to know that the historical events don't have to be presented in the same order. Example, you can start with the story in a future event, and right before that, the story continues with the context of why everything ended up like that. Also, If you start a small plot, a small but significant problem with a character or something like that, remember to have consistency with it. Because sometimes you might forget those small things and contradict them in a future plot, and those kind of things could result on a plot hole. Plot holes are a problem with a ton of stories out there, and that makes them look unprofessional and not serious. Even kids' stories need to be consistent with the lore. So, well, you're technically free to do the lore the way you want, but remember, the simpler the lore is, the more boring.
Oh boy, here we are. Well, designs and boundaries of the character slash world. Cool. Now this is another fun part. Here, your human, half demon, half angels, Aussies with heterochromia, rainbow head, 7 kitsune tails, dragon wings, cat ears, dissociative identity disorder, and that parents are going to be the main thing. So, the characters are one, if not the most important part of the story, especially the main characters, the protagonist and antagonist. The designs have to be cohesive in between them. You cannot have one character that looks like a horror story character with a bunch of cute characters that look like if they were from a Cartoon Network series. Because of that, you have to create the characters based on the world they are, and consider the genre of the story they belong to. The designs also include the personality. All the main characters must have a reason to be there, and they must have a strong, consistent personality that goes with their reason to being. So the development of them will be clear and not confusing or poor. You should always avoid Mary Sue's and Gary Sue's characters, which are perfect characters that doesn't have flaws. A character must have flaws to be relatable. If your character is just perfect all the time, it will be boring, annoying character. You should also not build a character with only flaws and unfortunate events on their life. This also makes a character unrealistic. Not even the villains need to have the most tragic childhood for the main villains. The best advice is to make all the characters as realistic, compared to human mentality, as possible. The more real the character feels is better.
Delete, recycle, and organize. An important part of creating a story is to know when something just doesn't fit with all you have done. It's valid to question if one specific part of your work should be reconsidered. Sometimes you will have to erase a small part or a character that doesn't fit well or even a whole plot. In order to not waste time, work, and money, you should play smart and recycle some previous resources if you find yourself in a difficult situation. This is why it is important to have a good work on the concept art. That allows you to have a whole variety of options to play and organize. Think smart, efficient, and practical. All to have a good quality story.
Well, here's the last point. Final product. Now that you have your story done, it's time to publish it somewhere. So people will look at it and say, "Wow, what an amazing story! I am such a fan." The creator must be a 200 UQ genius for doing such a great job with all this. I think I am going to base my whole personality in this amazing masterpiece. 10 for 10. I want a second now. Is in the best or worst scenario, your story will be famous enough to even have a fandom. Thank you.